Hey, what's up guys, it's Hedrymas here back with another video, and today I'm gonna go over how to play Elemental Shaman in 8.1 in dungeons and raids. So first of all, let's go over the talents. For the first row, you want to be going for Earth and Rage. You used to go for Echo of the Elements, but right now it's actually not strong enough anymore if you compare it to Earth and Rage. Elemental Blast is also not strong enough to be considered, so for the first row, always go for Earth and Rage in both AoE and single target. Now for the second row, you have Aftershock, Call of Thunder and Totem Mastery. Aftershock will make it so your Earthshock and Earthquake have a 25% chance to refund the Maelstrom you spend on them. Call of Thunder gives you extra Maelstrom and reduces the cost of your Earthquake and your Earthshock. Then you have Totem Mastery, which gives you 4 different buffs. One which gives you Maelstrom every second, one which gives you more damage to your Lightning Bolt. No, not more damage, which gives you more chance to overload your Lightning Bolt and your Chain Lightning. One which gives you more Flame Shock damage, and one which increases your haste. Now out of the 3 of these, Totem Mastery is the one you should always pick. Aftershock can be useful if you're constantly doing AoE on like 5+ targets, but that doesn't really happen often. Even in Mythic Plus, people usually pick Totem Mastery because it's stronger. Then you also have Call of Thunder, which is actually, I really like this talent, but currently it sims worse than Totem Mastery, so it's not worth taking, even though I think it's pretty cool. For the next row, you want to go for Spirit Wolf or Static Charge. Static Charge is really good for AoE, Mythic Plus, where you need stuns more than once every minute, because the cooldown of your stun totem is 1 minute. So this is good for Mythic Plus. If you're not doing Mythic Plus, however, or you don't really need the stuns, then I would suggest you go for Spirit Wolf, because it gives you damage reduction and increased movement speed in Spirit Wolf every 1 second, and it stacks 4 times. And then you have Earth Shield, which you shouldn't really ever take, mainly because you need to cast it on yourself all the time, and the healing is kinda small, so it's not really worth it. Now for the next row, you have Master of the Elements, Storm Elemental and Liquid Magma Totem. Master of the Elements makes your Lava Burst increase the damage of your next Nature Physical or Frost spell by 20%. So let's say you use a Lava Burst, if you use an Earthshock after, it's going to do 20% more damage than it would normally do. Then you have Storm Elemental, which it replaces your Fire Elemental, and what it does is every time you do cast a Lightning Bolt or a Chain Lightning, the cast speed of those abilities is reduced by 3%, and that stacks to 20 times, so you can go up to 60% if you manage to cast a lot. And then you have Liquid Magma Totem, which is basically, it's just in general, it's a decent choice, but it's not really better than Storm Elemental, because Storm Elemental gives you more AoE damage because of the reduced cast time on your Chain Lightning, and Liquid Magma Totem gives you instant AoE damage. So in general, Master of the Elements, not really strong enough to be considered. It is a really interesting talent though, I really like it, but sadly it's not stronger than one of these options. Storm Elemental is usually the go-to option, since it will do most of your most damage of all of these traits in most situations. Now then you have the next row, which is Nature's Guardian, Ancestral Guidance or Windrush Totem. For most situations you will be going for Nature's Guardian. Ancestral Guidance is good for if there's a part on the fight where there's a lot of AoE damage going on, you can actually help the healers out quite a lot. This is also kind of nice for Mythic Plus, so let's say you're in Mythic Plus, you're pulling 10, 15 mobs, well probably closer to 10 mobs. People are starting to take a lot of damage. You have a few Earthquakes up, you activate this and you're gonna start pumping HPS like crazy. Then you have Windrush Totem. You should pick this if your raid requires it. So for example, if there's a fight where everyone has to move together and has to move quite a long distance, then Windrush Totem is actually really good. But in most situations you want to go for Nature's Guardian. The next row is Surge of Power, Primal Elementalist and Ice Fury. Surge of Power is the new talent, which will give multiple effects to your different spells. So after you cast an Earthshock, your Flame Shock will apply 2 Flame Shocks, so 1 to the target, 1 to an enemy close by. Your Lightning Bolt will cause 1 to 3 Elemental Overloads. Your Lava Burst is going to reduce the cooldown of your Fire or Storm Elemental by 6 seconds. And Frost Shock is going to freeze the target in place for 6 seconds. Currently, this is not stronger than any of the other talents. My simulations tell me it's a little bit stronger than my Primal Elementalist, but that doesn't mean it's actually stronger, because to play this you need to play with it perfectly if you actually want to beat Primal Elementalist, and Primal Elementalist is just a click the button and forget about it. Well, it's a passive, but you know what I mean. So Primal Elementalist will cause your elementals to be 80% more powerful and give them some abilities. On the Storm Elemental, it will actually give it an ability that does some AoE damage, which is really nice. So when you use Storm Elemental on AoE, you can instantly activate the ability they get from Primal Elementalist as well, and they will do some AoE damage. Now, Ice Fury got buffed with 8.1. Now it is actually worth taking, especially on fights where there's a lot of movement. I'm actually not sure where to put this because I haven't used it before since the patch. Let's see. So it will cause my Frost Shock to do more damage. 30k crit. And this counts for the next 4 Frost Shocks. This is actually really strong for movement, or just in general for fights like Fetid Devourer, where you need to nuke a specific target pretty quickly, because this is basically on-demand burst. So if there's a lot of movement or there's a specific target you have to burst down, you should probably go for Ice Fury. Other than that is Primal Elementalist. So usually you keep it on Primal Elementalist, and then if a fight requires it, you can actually swap to Ice Fury. Now the next row is Unlimited Power, Stormkeeper and Ascendance. Unlimited Power is going to give you 2% haste for 10 seconds every time you get an overload. This is 10 seconds, but it doesn't actually refresh the duration. So let's say you get an overload. Let's say you get an overload, you get a buff for 10 seconds. If you get 10 overloads in the next 5 seconds, somehow you will stack the buff, but the duration won't actually refresh. But anyway, it's not actually stronger than any of the other talents right now because, well, it's not stronger than Stormkeeper because you kind of need Mastery for it, but Mastery is our worst stat. So once we get later in the expansion, this might actually be really good once we get some more stats. Then we have Stormkeeper, which they changed it a little bit. So now it actually causes your lightning bolts also to do more damage, because before what it did was it made your chain lightning and your lightning bolts overload, but your lightning bolt actually didn't do more damage, so it wasn't super strong on single target. But now that it causes your lightning bolts to do more damage, it's actually really strong. Then we have Ascendance. Ascendance is actually not worth picking anymore, so out of the last row you usually want to go for Stormkeeper in 8.1. So now let's go over the Azerite traits. In Uldir you want to get 1 Archive of the Titans or Laser Matrix, preferably Archive of the Titans since it's going to be stronger. For other traits, when you're not in Uldir as well, you want to go for Echo of the Elements, but this is actually kind of a question mark because recently there was a bug where Echo of the Elementals actually had a chance to spawn a second Fire Elemental. I don't even know what it's called, but this basically caused it to do way more damage than it was supposed to, so I'm not 100% sure on this one. You might have to check Blood Mallet at the time of when you check the video. And you might also want to simulate yourself with this trait, because I think they might have already fixed the simulation to actually see if it's stronger or not. So yeah, Echo of the Elements if it's not bugged and it's actually this strong. Then Bloodborne Infusion, which is going to give you some crits, Dagger in the Back, Swirling Sands, Champion of Azeroth, Archive of the Titans and so on. Basically, you just want to check Blood Mallet and see what is best for you. Now for AoE, you actually want to go for one of these. Tongue and Thunder, which is a new trait, which makes it so your Earthquake does some instant damage, and it also has a 25% chance to make your next Chain Lightning to be instant cast. This is actually really nice for AoE. You can stack multiple of these depending on how much AoE there is. If there is AoE like Mythic Plus, I suggest at least getting one of these, because the instant Chain Lightning is also nice because you can, if it's some trash where you have to move a lot and you place an Earthquake and you get the proc, then you can actually dodge something while you cast a Chain Lightning instantly. So that's actually really nice. So yeah, as always with these traits, you do want to check Blood Mallet because they can always change. Like Blizzard likes changing values, especially if the new raid comes out, they're definitely going to change some values. So you might want to check Blood Mallet and see what works. Then after you check Blood Mallet, you might actually want to simulate yourself as well, because Blood Mallet, it's not because Blood Mallet says that it's higher DPS, that it actually is higher DPS, because this also depends on your stats and a lot of other factors. So now let's get into the rotation. On single target, you want to go for Earthen Rage, Totem Mastery, Storm Elemental, Primal Elementalist and Stormkeeper. If there's a lot of movement involved, you might want to go for Ice Fury as well, but usually you go for Primal Elementalist. So the basic rotation is pretty easy. You want to keep your Totem Mastery up, you want to keep your Stormkeeper on cooldown, you want to keep your Storm Elemental on cooldown, you want to keep your Flame Shock up on the target all the time, you want to use your Lava Burst whenever you can, you want to use your Earth Shock whenever you're above 60 Maelstrom. If you don't have Lava Burst up, you just also want to make sure you actually never cap on Maelstrom. You have about 40 Maelstrom to play with, because at 60 you cast Earth Shock, and then you have 40 Maelstrom where you can cast other stuff before you actually cap. And then you want to cast your Lightning Bolt as a filler. There's one special thing though. If you have Storm Elemental up, you don't even want to cast Lava Burst, you just want to be casting Lightning Bolt over and over. So let's open up here and let's do a normal rotation. So before the pull, we want to make sure we actually have these totems up. We want to make sure we have Storm Elemental up, and we want to make sure we have Stormkeeper up. You want to do all of these things before the pull. So the best way to do this is 6 seconds before the pull, you do Totem Mastery, so these totems. Then after that you do Stormkeeper. After that you do Storm Elemental. Then you pre-pot, you cast Lava Burst, and then you instantly cast your Flame Shock the second your Lava Burst is cast. So this will make it that the Lava Burst actually crits, because if Flame Shock is on the target, it's gonna crit. This is also something they actually fixed with 8.1, where before, if you would cast Lava Burst and then do Flame Shock, it would actually check if you have Flame Shock on the target when the Lava Burst is cast, instead of when the Lava Burst actually hits. So let's do a pull timer here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now you just want to cast Lightning Bolts and Earth Shocks basically, because we have Storm Elemental up. When we don't have it up anymore, you can cast some Lava Burst. Also, if there is some movement involved on pull, you can of course use your procs of Lava Burst to actually, move. You can see how fast my Lightning Bolt is actually getting. It's actually really insane. Like, look how fast I'm casting right now. It's just stupid. Okay, now it's actually gone, and now we can use Lava Burst as an ability again. So you can see it's pretty simple. You just keep Flame Shock up, use your Earth Shocks whenever you can, you use Lava Burst whenever you can, and you use Lightning Bolt as a filler. It's really easy. Now, one thing with Stormkeeper is it is really strong on single target now, but if fairly soon there is going to be some mobs, like a pack of mobs, let's say a pack of mobs is going to spawn in 10 seconds, you don't actually want to use your Stormkeeper. So let's say 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, see, I'm just keeping it, and then suddenly the pack of mobs spawns, so let's say the group on the right here spawns, you can use this on these guys. Of course I'm capping on Maelstrom now because I'm not showing the AoE rotation, but yeah, if ad spawns you want to use the Stormkeeper on the ads, and you then want to Earthquake them, but we'll get into the AoE rotation in a second. So yeah, Elemental Shaman rotation is really easy. It's actually kind of funny, Elemental Shaman right now is quite strong, even though you don't really use the new talents. Like, the new talents are really cool. Surge of Power is quite complicated, Master of the Elements has some fun interactions, it's like really cool. But Call of Thunder is also really nice, but it's just not strong enough to actually pick, and still somehow Elemental Shaman became very strong. Now on AoE, it's actually really easy to play on AoE. On two targets, you still do your single target rotation, but you keep your Flame Shock on all the targets, and you cast Earthquake whenever you cast Earthquake instead of Earth Shock. This is actually even stronger if you have the Azerite trait where your Earthquake does instant damage. But yeah, anyway, on two targets you wanna replace your Earth Shock with Earthquake, and you wanna apply Flame Shock to both enemies. Now on 3 targets or more, what you want to do is you want to just cast your Chain Lightning instead of Lightning Bolts as a filler. You want to put Flame Shock on 3 targets. You can put it on 4 targets, but it's been calculated or simulated that if you want to put it on 4 targets, they have to live for 80% of the duration. So in most cases, not all, you will only put it on 3 targets. Now you want to spend all your Maelstrom on Earthquake, and you actually don't want to cast Lava Burst anymore. Like on 3 targets or more, it's not even worth to cast Lava Burst anymore. So anyway, let's do an AoE rotation here. Let's do Stormkeeper. Also, our Storm Elemental has an unused ability, which I use now. He's gonna use it now. 3, 2, 1. And it basically does some AoE damage. It's really nice. So yeah, we just keep our Flame Shock up on multiple targets, and we just... It's just 2 buttons. It's all there is to it. And look how much damage we're doing with just 2 buttons. Then again, we do have Storm Elemental up, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Chain Lightning, Earthquake, Chain Lightning, Earthquake, and just Flame Shocking on cooldown basically, depending on how many mobs there are. If there would be more... if there would be like 10 mobs, it would probably not even be worth to cast Flame Shock. Then you just cast 2 abilities over and over. Like, look, this is without any AoE traits. So you can see how strong Elemental AoE is right now. Anyway, that was pretty much it for the guide. There's not much more to it. If you have any questions, just write me in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you want to see more of these guides, please subscribe. And anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one.